Thank you for joining.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us on the We Got You Mama Summit. I want to introduce you all to the amazing Kim Perez. She is a functional nutritionist who helps moms restore their energy, reclaim their vitality so that we can not just survive, but thrive through this insane journey of motherhood. Within her own journey, she did experience a depletion during that early, postpartum stage. I think I would say majority of us do. And it lit a fire under her to more deeply support all the moms in this season. And so she has started helping women across the world with all things nutrition. Her site is Rooted and Branch, which I don't know, it sounds like it should be like a business surrounding nutrition and then also like baby items, like just the name. I don't know. Like I'm like, how does she claim that domain? It's beautiful.
Thank
There's a
you.
lot of meaning significant, surrounding, that name as well. So make sure y'all check her out. We'll talk about more how you can get in contact with her after. But we're going to talk about how to properly fuel our bodies and, because we deserve that and our bodies deserve to be fueled properly, especially when we are growing babies and birthing babies and what happens and what the changes in us that happen and continually happen. So did I miss anything? Anything you want to throw out there that I that I missed when introducing?
I don't think so. I feel like we're going to cover it all. There's so many things that I could talk about in this, on this topic. So I'm excited to dive in.
Awesome. So, what are some of those specific, simple changes that moms can make to give them that like natural energy? Like we always make the joke, like, oh, you survive on coffee, like postpartum, okay, but like, let's not just survive on coffee, right? Because
Right.
it's not actually going to do us a lot of good. So, what are some of just the simple things we can do? Because we have to kind of keep it simple in those early stages, right? Like there's a lot going on. It doesn't mean we have to be compiling these crazy specific meals to replenish our bodies. So fill us in on some of those, those expert tips.
Absolutely. So I think the first most important thing is like mindset. It's not even doing, it's the way that you're thinking. It's the way that you are, depending on what stage you're in, is going to really, determine how you're feeling yourself and what ways, what things you're focusing on. But really just getting honest with yourself and understanding like you do need to be fueled to take care of your newborn, your toddler, your older child, multiple children, no matter what stage you're at, and putting yourself at the forefront, right? Like, yes, your kids can come first, your family can come first, but that doesn't mean you have to come last. Like you can also come first, right? That's going to ebb and flow. So something that I talk a lot with moms is just the mindset piece of understanding that when your cup is empty, I get so annoyed with that phrase of like, you can't pour from an empty cup, because moms everywhere know we can do that. We do it all the time, but it doesn't
I
feel
can and I
good.
will and I
I
do.
can, right. I can. That's literally motherhood. That's how
Yeah.
it's how biology, everything is designed that we're going to give to our children no matter what. But it
Mhm.
doesn't feel good. And it sets
No.
us up for symptoms. And, it starts with things like irritability, fatigue, not really sleeping well, and that spirals, right? And you get to a point where like you hopefully will realize that's not serving you, right? So
Yeah.
just understanding like you have to fill your cup
Mhm.
to be able to pour into everyone else, but also you matter as a person,
Yes.
right? Just like an entire person, not just mom. So there's a
Right.
big mindset, there's a big
Mhm.
mindset shift that goes into that.
Yeah.
And then, in based on what I was chatting about before, just being really like aware of the season you're in and what is
Yeah.
that going to require, right? In that early postpartum period, it really ideally should not be your whole responsibility to feed yourself
Yeah.
because you're tending to a newborn like
Mhm.
24/7. So you need to have conversations, set up, whatever you can, whether that's having people there that are going to help feed you or send meals, or even just doing things like grocery delivery, meal prep, whatever you can, take those shortcuts so that you're getting help feeding yourself, right? And then once you get beyond that, especially if you are fueling yourself and you're hopefully recover well, then you can make changes, you can do more, but you're just
Yeah.
not going to get by at any point in motherhood running on fumes. and you need to eat. And those are just really like overall mindset things that I talk with women all the time, is understanding that you deserve to be nourished. You need food. You're not going to survive on 1,200 calories a day or coffee all day.
Yeah.
And get that in your mind, because, you know, once you start to really believe that, the actions will follow, right? We could talk about specifics, but this is just the overall kind of thing that has to happen beforehand. Because I think postpartum, especially just for moms in general, the main nutrition information out there is all going to be, or mostly going to be, about either how much to eat when you're breastfeeding or how to lose weight fast. And I think we're really lacking the information around how to really deeply nourish, replenish, and fuel our bodies so that we have all the energy we need to do all the things.
Yeah. The focus should not be, okay, when am I going to fit back into those pre-pregnancy jeans? You know, like, let's get that out of our head for now. That's not something that we need to focus on. Like, let's take care of ourselves from the inside. So there's been a lot of talk, and I don't think within any of my pregnancies even heard maternal depletion. Like, I'm hearing that pop up a lot now, which I think is cool and important to learn about. But yeah, no one talked about that. No one talked about what I should be eating or not eating, or any of that when, you know, I had any of my 3 babies. So what exactly is, when we say maternal depletion, what is it? What are these top symptoms to recognize, oh, I am absolutely depleted. So why it's so common? What are those symptoms?
Yeah. So maternal, I think the term postpartum or postnatal depletion has gotten really popular, but I think that it narrows things down for women to think like, oh, this is just something that happens like immediately after you have a baby. But it can continue. It can continue for 10 years, you know, multiple decades if it's not tended to, right? And so there's so many different ways that it can manifest. But when you think of depletion, you know, deplete is to take away, right? And when you become a mom, no matter what your experience is, there is a natural shift in your, you know, you're giving away your energy, you're giving away your time, you're giving away your sleep. You grow a baby and maybe breastfeed that baby, you're giving away your nutrients, right? So we're giving away and it's taking away from us. And so that can leave us physically depleted, but even just like mentally, emotionally depleted, socially depleted. I mean, think about become a mom, can be very isolating and lonely. So there's all of these different, you know, normal changes that are kind of going on, but the way that society is kind of set up and the lack of information and support we're given leads women to becoming depleted, and that's going to kind of spiral, right? Especially when we're told you should diet to lose weight really quick and get back in those jeans. That's going to just deplete you further. And so it will definitely manifest very differently for lots of women. The most common thing is going to be fatigue, because you're depleting, you're literally taking your energy, you've given away your nutrients to build and nourish and grow that baby. So there's a physical depletion of nutrients, and that's going to lead to fatigue. That can also cross over into mental fatigue, brain fog, mom brain, can impact mental health, of course, anxiety, depression, irritability, and mom rage. I know for me, like it was this combination of like, I'm so freaking exhausted, but my brain won't shut off. Like I'm so overstimulated and irritable. And then there's a lot of other symptoms that can be normal, like hair loss postpartum, just a thing that happens. But when that continues, especially is intense, you get your cycle back and it's really irregular and painful because of the way that this depletion impacts your energy and your nutrient stores. It really can impact anything. A lot of moms will, be diagnosed with autoimmune conditions after pregnancy, or start having thyroid problems that they never had before. So that is where, you know, it's like the energy, the nutrients that kind of trickles down to impact other areas.
So you did touch on mental health a little bit, and you know, that's always key for me with, you know, someone who's struggled a lot in that area with depression and anxiety, you know, as an adolescent, you know, into through motherhood. How much of a key does nutrition play in that of your mental health?
I mean, I'm a nutritionist. I'm going to be a little bit biased. I'm going to say it plays a pretty big role. I'm also very aware that that's not the only thing.
Right.
There's, you said, like history, there's trauma, there's how supported were you postpartum, so many different things. Did your baby sleep, or were you up all the time, because that in and of itself can really impact your mental health.
Mhm.
But something that is really important, and a lot of my focus is very foundational in terms of how we're supporting the main like energy producing and management systems of the body. And without getting too technical, we have like our metabolism, and we have, of course, our nervous system. And those things require energy, and they require consistent and balanced energy. So if you're not eating enough, if you're skipping meals, if your meals aren't balanced and your blood sugar's all over the place, it's literally going to put your body into fight or flight.
Yeah.
It's going to cause an increase in stress hormones, and that's going to impact your mental health just by way of how it's impacting your nervous system. And your body's not going to be able to handle stress as well. And of course, there's different areas, different paths that you can go down, and again, different ways that it will manifest. Some women have more anxiety, some are more depressed, some have both, and other symptoms. But it really comes down to this, like, your body is not feeling safe.
Mhm.
And there's a multitude of different reasons, but not getting the nutrition you need is going to be a really big one. Like, your
Yeah.
body's smart, and it's going to compensate, and it's going to try as best as possible to communicate with you that it needs that fuel, it needs that energy.
Yeah. Our bodies can be really loud sometimes, right? And then when it gets like too loud, that's probably when you've hit like, oh, now it's a problem, you know? I would say, and it's so fascinating to me because um the struggle surrounding some of the mental health things that I struggled with, it went away during my postpartum stage. Like I was the
Mm,
opposite. I was actually quite frightened. I was like, oh, I'm like poster child for like, I'm going to have postpartum depression. I'm going to have like massive postpartum anxiety. I mean, I think I was anxious, maybe like any new mom would be, you know, because it's everything's new. But like I found that this is happening. I'm pregnant now. I'm on maternity leave, right? Like this, like I some of the responsibilities that actually went away,
oh yeah.
right? Because I was like,
Yeah.
well, this is what I'm doing now. And so maybe it was environment and work and some of the pressures like that came off. And then baby came, and like that was my responsibility. Like I didn't,
Hmm.
and at the time, you know, I didn't have my other two kids yet. So it was the first time around. I was like so scared that like, oh, I am gonna lose my mind when I have this baby. And lack of sleep and all that kind of things. But like also I had people like feeding me, and I
Yeah.
didn't have to worry about dinner. And I
The
had,
support.
a meal train, and I had my mom in town helping take care of baby. And I had, it was almost like this, yes, hard and exhausting and all the things, but I was like, my anxiety went away after having,
That's
because
wonderful. Well,
I
you're
was
also,
being
you're in
fed
your
and I
little
was being
bubble.
taken
Yeah.
care of for like the first time
Yes.
in forever, right?
Hmm.
And I just kind of like put that together as we were speaking right now, like it like healed me in a sense, you know? And then once you start busying all the things and all the crazy hits back up is when it started. And then I had to, learn some apply some cognitive behavioral changes, obviously in my life to then, get on this track of staying more consistently feeling better. But yeah, that is fascinating. Like I was fed,
Yeah.
someone was
It's
taking the baby so I
interesting.
could sleep, you know
Right.
my mom was going for a walk, making sure I got outside, like all those environmental things,
Yeah, well, you were lucky enough to have those people that like were there for
yeah,
you, and your
100%.
job is take care of baby. That was your focus, and then their
Yeah,
job was take care of you. I
yeah,
had a very similar experience. Like, I am nostalgic for my early postpartum. Like, it
yeah.
wasn't it wasn't like all fun and games, but I
No.
was like, I wasn't working, I wasn't worrying about literally
Yeah.
anything else. I was in that little blissful bubble, and I was, doing, I knew I had all this knowledge, so I was doing all the things that I knew, to support myself and my healing.
Right.
But my son was 4 months old when COVID hit. And so all of my, like,
Yeah.
everything that happened with me, like depletion, exhaustion, mental health, was not till about a year. I also exclusively pumped for that year, which was not my original plan.
Mhm.
And was also very like demanding of time and energy.
Right.
Um, but I think that that's something that's also really important to point out, is that it doesn't have to occur right away, right? Whether it's overall depletion, mental health struggles, or any other thing, like,
Yeah.
it can surface later.
Yeah.
Postpartum is technically forever, right?
Yeah. It really is. And we think that like it doesn't and won't creep back in once I hit, that hump. Cause yeah, 100% like those things started to creep back in once that baby hit 6, 7 months, right?
Hmm. And things
Um,
are changing. Things are
yeah.
changing. Food's coming into the picture, baby is moving. how nice to be able to put, like, I knew like I could put my son down and go make a meal and he'd be in the same spot when I got back, you know, before they're calling and all that. So there's
Yeah.
new things, there's this like evolution that it's not just you have a baby, you become a mom and okay, now that's it. It's like you're
Mhm.
changing. Those first 2 years, especially, you're going through lots of different changes, your body, your
Right.
life. It's all. So we have to like honor that a little bit better too.
Yeah, 100%. And then you have a teenager, and then your cycles sync up, and then life changes.
Ooh, I'm not there. I have a son, so but
That's
yeah.
where I'm at. And I'm like, oh, this really, it did not come out of nowhere, but it felt like it came out of nowhere. I was like, and
Mm.
we're here, and
Yeah.
we're here.
Different
So yeah, things
seasons,
are
right?
always changing. Yeah,
Exactly.
no, it's you blink and those babies are now like these
Mm.
teenagers. They actually grow up, you guys. Surprise, surprise. These babies actually grow up and they
Right.
survive a lot more, than we think. Like looking back, yeah, I should have taken care of myself. Oh, yeah, I should have, or yeah, I should have, right? And so I don't know, take it from, yeah, I think this is why I have such huge passion in doing this. It's like I want moms to have all the support and have access to support and build that village around them, like during this stage, but also like forever. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Mhm.
have a space to come where, they can learn from you like 5 years from now. Like, okay, now I'm not okay. What is happening? Oh, well, maybe it's whatever. Perimenopause is like a big topic now, you know what I mean? And the kind of things that we have to do and change to replenish our bodies in that stage. And
Mhm.
it's just, things are always changing and growing. And then there's always, new information out there too.
Definitely. And
Um,
also what you do now is going to impact if you're not at that point yet. Like
right,
that is something very always was drilled into my brain through all my trainings when it comes to supporting perimenopausal and menopausal, postmenopausal. It's like so much of what you do in your teens, 20s, 30s is going to actually set you up for success at that point or not. And
right,
similarly, how you rest and nourish yourself in the postpartum period when you are in that really, really vulnerable, depleted state is going to impact the rest of your motherhood, really. And
yeah,
especially if you're going to go on to have more kids, that depletion can only intensify.
right. And I would say in all aspects too, like even when we, have the episodes surrounding our pelvic floor, you know what I mean? How much you can do now, even if you
Hmm.
have all your babies, or before you reach menopause, how much you can do now to feel better, to strengthen those muscles, like and I often come back to you have to pee your pants the rest of your life, because that
Yeah.
was what I grew up with my mom. Like I'll leaking wouldn't jump around with us, because she's like, no, I'll pee my pants. So I just thought that
Hmm.
was the future, right? Um, and I think it's important to know it doesn't have to be your future. We can do things now to support our bodies and our muscles and our gut and all those things to yes, prevent a plethora of things,
Hmm.
but also like to feel better now and to ensure that we're going to feel better, in the future. Um
Absolutely.
so when we talk about there's been a lot more talk around like do you take supplements? Do you get all the nutrients you need through food? Like, what if you're not getting them through food? What sort of minerals? Like, been hearing like I maybe need more than this, and then the doctors aren't really, the regular checkups. They're not. You ask for a blood panel, they're just going to check the handful of things that they're supposed to, or what's covered, or whatever. What are some of those things that are important, for mothers specifically to hone in on when it comes to that kind of stuff?
Yeah. A few things to say about that. So number one, I'm a huge fan of minerals. I'm like obsessed with minerals. I use a lot of like mineral testing and that focus in my practice
Mhm.
because the during the duration of pregnancy, it's estimated that we give about 4 pounds of our body's mineral stores to our babies. Like we
Whoa.
store those minerals and we literally, so we can lose, it's about 10%. So because of how important minerals are to support the metabolism, which makes energy,
Yeah.
lack of minerals is going to, again, like that downstream effect that I talked about. And what is frustrating, unfortunately, is that the conventional, medical model, you might get some minerals checked in your blood work, like your electrolytes, calcium, magnesium, sodium, but most of the time you're going to see that they're in range. It's only if they're out of range in your blood that's likely a pretty deep imbalance, right?
Yeah.
Your body keeps your mineral levels in your blood under very tight control. So calcium, for example, if you don't have enough in your blood and those levels drop low, your body can pull from your bones and your teeth to bring calcium into. So not only are these tests just not, comprehensive enough, but the way that they're checking, especially, certain nutrients, is just not super accurate. So going back to, your first question around food and supplements, I really do believe that we can get as much as really, like, you should be trying to get as much as you can from food. That should be your goal, but I don't think it's going to be fully possible. And so you can definitely use supplements to like fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people will jump to supplements first, and I'll get clients, they'll see like, oh, your potassium's low. They're like, what supplement can I take? I'm like, let's
Mhm.
focus on what we can do
Yeah.
with your diet first, because you will absorb and utilize nutrients from food better than you will supplements, right? And then next
Right.
would be like food-based supplements.
Right.
So I think, for every woman, it's going to be a little bit different, just depending on her, her schedule, her preferences, foods maybe she is like allergic to or doesn't include in her diet, right? But this is where working with a practitioner is so helpful, because you can get that customized assessment to see,
Yeah.
okay, this is what we're going to tweak with your food. This is what maybe you're deficient in, or you're just not getting enough from your diet. And here's where we can layer in a supplement. And here's maybe where we can like work to correct a deficiency over a short amount of time, retest, and then, you're good, right? So it's a combination. It's a combination of food and supplements. At least that's how I do things.
Yeah. And with the supplement world, is there a best? Is there a better is best? Is there a shy away from this? Is there a, organic, non-organic when it comes to food? Like, what is your like general recommendation when it comes to women? Like your doctor says, oh, you need this. And then so maybe she researches more food that contains that she's missing. But what if they're like, yeah, you need to supplement in this? Like, then where do they turn if they're not really guided?
Yeah. I feel bad because the whole supplement world is really overwhelming. Like,
It
even
is.
as a practitioner, I'll get clients that are like, hey, what do you think of this magnesium? I'm like, I've never heard of this brand before. There's just so much out there. So this
Yeah.
is really difficult to say. What I will say is that the unfortunate reality is that financially, you want what's going to be most cost effective. So
Mhm.
oftentimes you'll go into like the, whatever's cheap on Amazon, whatever's in your, local pharmacy and is like $13 a bottle versus like the $30 bottle. In general, the cheaper a supplement, it's might have more additives. It's especially when we're talking about minerals, for example, just because we're on that topic, it's going to have a lower quality form that's not going to be
Mhm.
absorbed by your body. Magnesium's a big one. Like, there are a lot of magnesium that you can go buy in the store for very cheap. They're
Yeah.
not going to really make you feel so great. So, doing your research around the quality of supplements, looking at what the ingredients are, making sure that it's been, tested. I utilize a lot of practitioner grade supplements, like brands that I know and trust. So again, working with a practitioner
Yeah.
to do that research. Also food-based, like if you can go with a food-based supplement over, for example, vitamin C, right? Like there's vitamin C that you're going to grab in the grocery store. That's ascorbic acid. That's the most common. It's pretty cheap. That's what's in like everything. Or you can get a like food-based there's different types of berries that are really rich in vitamin C, and you can use that as a supplement, knowing your body's going to absorb that and see it more like a food, right? So
Like
those are
how
just
we
a couple
were, I don't
of,
know, like how we're born, maybe. Like how they do,
yeah. Yeah,
right?
because
To
I hate
absorb
to
food before
see,
any of those things existed and, in little gel packs out right form. Like we're like made to thrive off of food, right? Good,
right, right.
solid, whole food. Yeah.
And I hate to see people waste their money, It's like
Yeah.
worse is that it's doing more harm than good, which I see very often.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things to do is take women off all their supplements. I'm like, you don't need all this stuff. You just need
Yeah.
these like three, right? That's one of the joys of the work that I do, the little joys. But Yeah, like don't waste your money on something that's maybe making things worse or just really isn't doing anything. Like it's
Right.
you're creating expensive pee, right? That's what it's going to come down to. And put that money, put that money towards like some higher quality, more nutrient rich foods if you can. And
Yeah.
then, again, fill in the gaps with what your body needs.
Mhm.
I'm a big proponent of testing. Stop guessing. Just because
Right.
someone on TikTok said you need magnesium doesn't mean that you should go take
Our body does.
magnesium.
Right.
Yeah. So, understanding what your body needs, tuning out some of that excess noise, getting support so that you can understand what your body needs is so, so, so important to help you simplify and help you prioritize. And, if you don't want to take supplements, if you don't want to go down that route, like that's also fine, but really just pay like even more attention and put more intention on your diet.
Right. Yeah. Which can, be hard sometimes, but I think the benefit is massive. And we might not see that instantaneously, right? But over time,
Yeah.
I think we're like really gonna recognize how important that is, right?
Yes. And I'm also a realist. Like I always say my approach is holistic but realistic because
Yeah.
I look at what moms are, the demands that we're under, the lives that we're living, the stress of just living in this world.
Yeah.
And I really truly believe that food first, but like I'm a big fan of minerals and herbs for moms. Like I think
Okay.
those two things can really, really be supportive for helping us replenish, supporting energy and also supporting like stress and hormones. Of course, there's variance in that category, but those are my two really like top categories of supplements to have women use. They really just make a big difference.
Mhm. So how do we test for that? So when we chatted before, you talked about, I was like, I need you to run me a lab test, because I haven't done all the things to see what I go do my regular checkups, with the doctor. And it wasn't, I think I mentioned this in another interview. It wasn't until my psychologist was like, have you had these things tested? Let's rule out blah, blah, blah before we put you on any medication. Cause it might just be, you're low in B12 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I don't think that came up. And then I had to ask, oh, is that, so they're like, oh, that's not included in that blood
Yeah.
panel. Like, oh, and you kind of like just think that they're testing your blood but like you said, it's only certain things. And it's only if they're, if they're at the bottom of that range, they're still going to be considered okay. And sure enough, I was like at the bottom, but they're like, yeah, but you can take it if you want, but it's at the bottom. And I was like, bottom doesn't feel like a great place to be.
Right, right. I don't want to. And I also don't just want to
Yeah.
be normal comparatively to everyone, like the
Yeah.
general population.
Yeah.
I want to thrive. I want to
Yeah.
feel really good. So there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different tests. I particularly lean really heavily on mineral testing
Mhm.
because of just the population that I work with and the power that it's had with my health and so many of my clients. But I
Mhm.
also will like recommend to my clients and have them advocate for themselves at their providers' offices to request certain labs, to
Mhm.
go in there and ask for a full, a thyroid panel and even ask the doctor, like, what markers are you putting in on that script? Coming in armed with that information. And that's something that, I think a lot of people don't believe that they can do, but you really can.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you don't have a doctor that's going to support you, hopefully you can find another doctor. In most states, you can also order your own blood work. Of course, you want to work with somebody to help you interpret it, but I'm
Sure.
not like anti-blood work. I think blood work is really, really important.
Yeah.
I just lean heavily into mineral testing because it's non-invasive. You use a piece of your hair.
Cool.
So you do it at home. It's very cost effective and it just gives us the most amount of information, but also the most like foundational important information because we literally can see your mineral levels on paper. We can see exactly how your body's able to create energy, exactly how your body's handling stress.
That's insane.
It's
From
amazing
your hair.
from your hair. And I
That's
can
why on all
attest to
those
this.
crime scene videos, like if you find a piece of hair, they're like, we got him.
Yep, your hair carries so much
Yeah.
information and yeah, so it can show so many different things and different mineral patterns can show like how your thyroid's actually functioning, your nervous system. I
Yeah.
ran one just this week and there's a nervous system ratio. And when that's really low, it's very indicative that somebody's in fight or flight. And that client had the like every symptom matching up with that, right? And so how
Mhm.
we would approach healing for that person would be very different from someone who has a higher ratio who's on the other, the other side of the spectrum, right? Or somebody whose adrenals are more overactive versus someone whose adrenals are more depleted. So I'm sorry, there's like a fuzz. So it's like in my vision. So yeah, that test is my absolute favorite. And then there's other things that you can do just depending on what's going on. But that's the test I've run with every single one of my clients to start.
That's cool. And so do you recommend, can anyone reach out to you and be like, hey, I want you to do this for me? Do you work with people like everywhere?
Yeah,
Or is it
basically.
like, or do
There's
you
some,
recommend that like, oh, maybe go see, this person or look, research this type of person in your area, provider that will provide that type of work for you, but it's essentially all they all send it out, right?
yes. And the thing about hair mineral testing is like you really have to be trained to read it.
Mm,
Because it's not like a very straightforward, just because something's high, it doesn't necessarily mean it's high. It can just mean your body's losing it more rapidly, using it up more rapidly.
mhm.
So you want to work with somebody who's trained in mineral testing if that's the type of test you want.
Got it. Okay.
There are restrictions for certain countries and things like that, but in general, I have an HTMA review service, which is just like you run a test with me, I interpret it for you, I build you a protocol. And that's a really cool starting point for a lot of people because, the investment is, like I said, that's a really inexpensive test comparatively. I send the kit to your house, you do it at home and you send it to the lab. Like it
Right.
couldn't be simpler. And then you get to like implement that on your own. And if you feel like you need more support from me, then, you can definitely do that. But that can also be like a one and done. Like you get that information. Now you're empowered with what's going on in
Yeah.
your body and what you need to do and change. And then you just kind of move forward with all of that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you want to run one, we can
I
chat.
totally want to run one.
It's
I think
so
the first time we
cool.
talked, I was like, oh, I need to get her my hair. I was like, I
Send
need
me your
to
hair. Oh, you
happen.
don't send it to me, but
But yeah, no, I mean,
it's
yeah,
my
I mean,
favorite. I run it twice a year personally. I think
yeah,
it's, especially with clients who have, especially are in that season of preparing for pregnancy during or immediately postpartum. It's just such a cool
yeah,
test. Like I run it with clients before they get pregnant and during pregnancy, and you see
yeah.
such big changes
So
because
different. Mm-hmm.
so much is going on. And it's been such a great tool, particularly for those pregnant clients to like prepare for postpartum, right? Like
Right.
fill those stores up, support yourself
Mm-hmm.
so that you're not really depleted when you get to that stage.
Yeah. Get in a healthy spot as well, before you even conceive, even, right? Like
Yeah.
beyond that, before you have babies, before you think about like, I mean, just humans, we can get in a better place. I mean, we know that the world is, pretty unhealthy right now. And so like, let's get some knowledge behind what we're missing, and work towards
Yes.
getting healthier. That's awesome.
As proactive as you can be, it's not a wrong time. It's never too late. That's what
No,
I love about this test. And the other thing I like about it is that a lot of us know, I think most of us know we're stressed. Like, oh yeah, I'm stressed.
right.
And you might know how that's like presenting symptom wise. But the really cool thing about the HMA, like you're literally seeing like a bar graph
Yeah,
and it's like on paper, it's like a fingerprint of the
right.
last 3 months of exactly how your body is handling stress. And so if you look at that and it's all over the place, right? It can definitely indicate, and it's can often be like an eye opener, like, whoa,
Right.
okay. I knew I was stressed, but I didn't really notice this was going
How it
on.
was
And that can
affecting
be a
me.
catalyst. Yeah. It can be a catalyst. Whereas we tend to think, and this is something that I, talk about a lot, is just this narrative of motherhood, right? Like you're always going to be tired, you're always going to be stressed. Like you signed up for this.
Good
Good luck.
luck.
We're all in it. We're all in
I
it, right?
yeah.
And I wish it didn't have to be that way. And I
Yeah.
don't think it has to be that way. So rather than just saying like, well, all moms feel this way, so it's fine for me to feel this way, like you don't have to accept that. Like you can expect more. And so, yeah, just seeing that on paper can be a really good catalyst
Yeah.
to making the changes that you have to make to feel better.
Yeah. That's huge. Yeah. No, I 100% am like really excited about it because like you said, we're always changing, like my body's different than it was a couple years ago. I feel like I got into my 40s and I was like, what's happening
Yeah.
with my body?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I'm okay with it. And my gut has always been telling me like you need to get more help, you need to like find out what's going on. And we put ourselves off so much, right? you know, we're too busy. It's work and it's all the kids and it's all their things. It's all their things, you know, but if it gets to a certain point and something happens to you because you didn't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to then, you know, be there.
Exactly.
Present and, you know, whatever, whether it leads into really unhealthy, you name it. I mean, you know, they're talking about certain things we're doing now to our bodies that are, you know, causing all sorts of cancers and this and that. And it's like, why don't we just listen? Our bodies seem like something's wrong. Right? Listen, reach out, ask questions, and then, you know, get that help that will support you, which is just
And it doesn't have to be complicated, because I think, you know, we all really know what's going to keep us. But we also we all know kind of the basics of what's going to keep us healthy, right? Like nourishing food, drink water, sleep, go outside, spend time with other people. It doesn't have to be this really complex thing that we often make it.
No, when you get rid of diets, when you get rid of, you know, it's like, we complicate it, right? Like, just tell me what diet to be on, what exercise program to do. You know, even the moms that enter my program, I'm like, it's actually not crazy complicated. I'm here just to inspire you to make, you know, good choices and eating good foods that fuel your body and make you feel better. And then once, you know, we're 4, 5, 6 weeks in, you're going to be like, oh,
I get it.
I do feel better. I get it. And then it'll become a habit. And then, you know, I'm like, this isn't like a 8-week fix it course. I'm like, this is a lifelong, you know, journey. Which
it has to be. And you have to do that. You have to approach it in a way that it can be forever. It doesn't have to be like a really strict and very, you know, restriction based thing. You don't have to make it overly difficult. The smaller the changes, the more sustainable, the way that you build upon it. Like, that's what's most important, to live an overall healthy life, rather than, you know, be constantly yo-yoing back and forth, because how many of us did that for way too long?
Way too long. No, 100%. And raising kids that know that that's not the way to go. I think
that's the other very important piece, right? Is creating that culture, where, you know, mom takes care of herself and kids seeing that. And that's an entirely other discussion, but also such an important
2 hours.
Such an important thing is creating that culture where it's normal. They are watching.
From a tiny baby, they're watching, they're taking it all in. And there's things I wish I, you know, would have done differently just in, you know, my first watching me. You don't think that they're absorbing all the things. And when she hit 2 and I was like, oh, she is absorbing all.
They're sponges. Well, think about how many women in our, you know, especially like women in our generation who grew up watching their moms do certain things, be dieting all the time, not eating, not taking care of themselves, not working out. That's impacted us, whether we've recognized it or not. And so I think like everybody wants to talk about breaking the cycle. It's like, yeah, well, this is also a really important cycle that you can break, is like a mom that takes care of herself and fills her own cup. And then, you know, it can only be a better, more present, more happy mom because of it. Right.
100%. That's the goal.
Definitely.
That's the goal. And better is best, right? You just make the next better choice. Like, we got to stop with this, like, best perfectionist and super mom, and I got to do all that, right? Like, just make the better choice, you know, for you, and then you're going to see a difference. So
yes.
Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
You're so great. So tell everyone how they can contact you and reach out to you. We're just having everyone throw out their information verbally, even though it's going to be included all in the info and the emails and all the things going out. So everyone will have their clickable links to all her things, to, you know, her website, to the testing, to her courses, that kind of stuff. So tell them where to go to find you.
It's so simple. Root and Branch Nutrition, pretty much everywhere. So Instagram, TikTok, website.
Kim, I keep calling rooted. I think I keep saying root. I think I keep saying rooted and branch.
Root and branch. Root and branch. Yeah, so that's where you can find me everywhere. And it's kim@rootbranchnutrition.com is my email. So yeah, if you put that in, you'll find me.
Yep. All right. We'll include all the things. Kim, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
And I look forward to getting my kit for my hair.
Yeah,
I'm gonna choose a gray hair. My hairstylist says, don't pull them out. I was like, how can I not pull them out?
I'm the worst at that.
They are like this. And I was like, they're these wiries. How do I just let it let it do that to me.
I know. So many hair things that we go through as
Hair
mothers
things
and
we go
women.
through. I mean, I'm all about grays too, but I don't know. I'm fine with having some grays. It's just those ones that just start, being crazy that I'm going to send, not you, but
Pick
I'm
all
going
your
to
gray
get
hairs
from
out.
you and I'm going to send the company one of my gray hairs. Awesome.
Oh, it's
Thanks
funny.
again, Kim. I appreciate you. And thanks for all you do and supporting all the moms. Kim has got you. If you have any questions, concerns, you want to work with her, please don't hesitate to reach out. She's truly awesome. So thanks again. I appreciate you.
I appreciate
All right.
you.
Bye, Kim. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to the We Got You Mama Summit. Today we have Alana Bonnemann. She is joining us all the way from Germany. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Joining us at like the night hours, whatever time it is over there. Alana, she is a naturopathic nutritionist, and she dedicates herself to guiding women towards their feel good weight. And we're going to talk about what this, feel good means kind of in today's society. And she helps them foster this positive relationship with food and getting rid of that mentality of this diet culture that I think is really important that we set ourselves straight on a little bit and help us realize that food can be medicine, using food as medicine, right, to fuel our bodies, and letting go, stripping away all the complexities of fad diets. And she's developed a really cool philosophy centered around nourishing the body's needs, implementing sustainable and gentle practices that I appreciate are also like realistic, right? That can blend into, family life. She focuses on energy, which we've been talking a lot about, like sleep, mental health. How can we kind of reclaim that? And so how can we achieve this abundant energy, through food, balanced hormones, without throwing someone into maybe past mindsets that they had on what they need to do to feel good again. And so she does all that without enforcing all these unreasonable restrictions or calorie counting or jumping back into some fad diet that you thought worked for you before. And she's able to do this all online. So she has an online practice where she gets to do this with people from all over the world and implements these, I think once they chat with you and get to know you and you're on the path, they're easy to implement. I think we make it way too hard on ourselves and too complicated. And then we just give up and then we do what we used to do, or we go the other end, right? And do maybe choose and do and act in ways that, make us even more unhealthy. And especially after these babies are born, our bodies change and they need different things. So fill us in on your journey here, your education towards, finding this space. Alana also has a couple littles, and so she is a mother herself, which we all know changes, life and perspective on things. So fill me in.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, that was great. You really hit the nail on the head with everything, from it being a holistic point of view to how we've kind of been brought up. I'm assuming that a lot of moms out there who are watching this probably grew up through the 90s, which in terms of eating well was a little bit skewed. We talked about this just before, this idea that being skinny meant being healthy and how to get there was at any cost. And before, you also mentioned, and I know this firsthand as well from people wanting to get thin and just not eating food, but rather opting for a cotton ball with orange juice as a means to get thin. And what we're learning, and this is also why I use the terminology feel good weight, we're focusing on the feel good part. It's actually got nothing to do with the weight. And so when we're trying to find ourselves, yes, it's about, getting to a feel good place. So yeah, how did I get here? As naturopath, nutritionist. I'm actually from Australia, but living in Germany. My partner's here. And the Germans are really interesting. They always wanted to know, what can I do with nutrition? Because I learned herbal medicine and, you know, a lot of other supplements that can come in, and they didn't really want that. They weren't really for the whole supplements and well, they do also do herbal medicine, but they didn't really they wanted to know what they could do with their diet.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my practice kind of started, okay, what can we do with the diet? And I was seeing time and time again, nutrition through diet, but then also the term dieting, that people were dieting in order to lose weight. This was these two things were kind of side by side. And what I've seen over a long period of time is, okay, people want to lose weight, so they go on a diet, quite restrictive diet, which in turn kind of changes around our hormones, which is then leading to weight gain. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this is happening. And as a mom, as you said, so many changes happen. Then we've got the stress, we've got the sleep, we've got the digestion, we've got our menstrual cycle, we've got all these other corners of our life that kind of need to be addressed. And when things aren't going and flowing as easy as they can, then this is where we kind of get up to the hardship of it all. And again, if we've been brought up in the 90s, we're like, okay, well, diets usually fix this. So then we're kind of going back to what we thought worked. And a lot of women just end up stuck and frustrated and not sure what to do, and how to do it. So this is, I've kind of, found a little pocket of people that kind of just, I guess, get missed from like, what do I have to how can I do things? And then, of course, we've got the online world telling us an abundance of different things. And then there's just this overwhelm that comes with it. And if you're at home with a small child, you don't have the time, the energy, or even the bandwidth to think about this stuff, then it gets too much all too soon. And then you just kind of give up in the end when you feel like you can't do it. So yeah, it's just through my own, I guess through my own journey a little bit, but then also in practice, just seeing this time and time again as well.
Yeah, no, and isn't it funny how things change over time too? Like some aspects of this, world and diet culture are almost worse, but then you're better, but then you're seeing more diversity in even just body imagery. But then, there's some lashback on that of like, what is healthy, it's not healthy. And what is this healthy, what, you're saying
healthy
is
little side and
feel good weight, right? Like what
that's the thing. It comes down to you, what I consider healthy for me and how I look and how I feel is different to the next person.
Yeah.
And, as moms, actually, like, do you have energy? Do you wake up in the morning feeling refreshed? Can you keep up, with your kids? Are you getting to the evening and just crashing with energy? And usually high stress, exhaustion, that fatigue. Well, then also when it comes to diets and nutrition, a lot of sugar binging also then comes into this, and this also ropes in with diet culture, like dieting as well. So it's really, stripping back what it is, what it means for you to feel well.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of grasping a lot of those tools, or, we even partnered up with this company, and it's funny how she is in the food industry, in the food, like packaging, delivering, industry. And then she's 32 weeks pregnant. And so she started a sub company off of her, in Good Eating. And she started this Nourish, and I feel like maybe I'm saying the name wrong, but she started Nourish, and it's part of, a lot of stuff that we're talking about here, and people can find it on our site as well. But she's like, I wanted to provide something that's healthy, nutrient dense, and isn't gross. She was like, and actually the whole family will want to eat, this lasagna, because she stripped certain things out of it that postpartum, maybe not make you feel so good, but then added certain things to like, up the protein content, and she get, the kids, like everyone loves it. It's not, and then it's affordable and it's accessible. And I was like, that's, amazing.
It's easy.
Thinking out of it. is that one of the most common challenges for mothers? Is it like, well, I don't have access, or I'm too busy, or it's
Yeah.
not about me anymore? Or is it more like, I'll never, get to who I was back then? Or we hear so much like pre-baby weight. Like, so when I tell my
Yeah.
clients, like, I just like to get back to my pre-baby weight, I'm like,
Bounce back.
okay, well,
Just
we're
gonna
going to
bounce
like have
back.
a different conversation right now, because
Yeah.
it's not about weight. We're actually not going to weigh yourself at all. We're not going to get on the scale, because I often
Yeah.
say, do you feel so great when you get on the scale? Like, you look at it
That's
and are like,
definitely not feel good.
you get off and be like, that's amazing. And I love it. I love when I get on. I love how I feel when I get off. I love
Yeah.
getting those numbers back. And I was like, if that is not you, and maybe there are some out there that like, that motivates them or inspires them or whatever. But I was like, we can't focus on this number.
Yeah.
You're more than a number on a scale.
Yeah, it's
right?
unhelpful for sure. It's
It's
unhelpful. And we
not.
know,
Yeah.
like muscle. So if you're working out, muscles weighing more than
Yeah.
fat. So like, what does it even matter?
It
This
doesn't matter.
it's really arbitrary.
Because they might lose 0 pounds but drop 3 dress sizes. I'm like,
Yeah.
so how about we focus on how we feel? And if you want to do measurements, we don't do numbers, we do like ribbon. And then you can compare ribbon from the beginning of our journey to, mid to end. And you'll see some loss, you'll see tone, you'll see these things, but I would focus on how you feel.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny. For some of the clients I see as well, they say, I don't even feel like I look any different, but I feel so much different. And this is what you need to hold on to. And of course, if you're looking in the mirror and you want to look a certain way, this is one thing, but by highly restricted diets and calorie counting and weighing yourself, that's even just the mindset. That's just the wrong way of going about it.
Yeah.
Let's just shift that whole energy in that direction towards, I'm well, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm agile. How can I wake up and feel good? How can I, have strength throughout the day? So this is kind of where you want to be focusing all of that energy onto. Yes.
So
And you're
how,
asking, so time, sorry. I was going to say,
no, go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
you asked.
Well, I was just wondering, like, how do they, if they grew up this way, or I'm always dieting, how do you undo that, right? How do you change your approach to dieting? Like, I don't like using that word anymore,
Word dieting.
like,
Yeah.
because it has such a negative response, or like you kind of cringe because you remember that time when you did that diet and like I didn't eat carbs and I didn't blah blah blah. Like, I actually found success, but then I ended up getting more weight back,
In the
so
end, yeah.
but
And
diet,
so from dieting,
it's a descriptive word, right? It's
yeah,
not dieting and latching on to a specific restrictive diet. That's where it gets a little scary. So when you talk about nutrition,
yeah,
it's so important for overall health. Like, how do we change?
Yeah. So this comes also down to the way we're thinking about things. We start a diet because there is a certain result that we get.
Right.
But we know diets don't work. It's also, if you're trying to teach your child to have a good relationship with food, highly restricting sugar doesn't make that child not want sugar. Usually it will just make them binge it
100%.
more.
I have seen that time and time again in people I know.
I think actually this is one of, I didn't say it before, but this is one of the things that led me down this path. My child, I realized I as an adult, I didn't eat a lot of sugar, had a child and just didn't really feed him much. We went to a second birthday. All the Smarties on the birthday cake were gone. And I just saw Theodore like in the corner eating them. And it was a light bulb moment. I was like, oh, I don't have a good relationship with sugar.
Yeah.
Oh, this is something that I need to figure out. So we know diets don't work. So what we need, and I think as mothers going postpartum, or if we're becoming mothers, we need to nourish ourselves. This is the number one thing that we need to be doing. And that is through food. It's not through any type of diet.
Yeah.
I don't know, vegan or vegetarian or all these labeled diets. When we're thinking about diet, like let's think about food that nourishes us. And actually, I think a lot of people know what's healthy.
Yeah.
We know to eat vegetables, Processed food is,
Yeah.
you've heard it
They've
all
been
before. Drink
like,
more
yeah,
water.
these foods have been around forever.
Yeah. Like, if you, and also, personally the foods that make you feel good.
Yeah.
So I don't want to come on and bang about how good protein and vegetables and good fats are. I think that's people know that.
Yeah.
So often it's how we approach our food, like
Yeah.
how we do things, how we call foods, for example. Very typical is I'm eating healthy because I'm eating a salad, or I'm eating unhealthy because I'm eating a burger. Good food, bad food, superfood, fake food, these types of things. It's just that constant reinforcement that also the vocabulary that we use.
Yeah.
And this is just drilled into us as well. And everywhere. I was at a cafe the other day and it's like, this is the clean food menu. And I'm thinking that, it's like acai bowls and all this. And, we see that. And of course it's trending, but if that's clean food, then the burger joint around the corner, that's probably dirty food. So even when you're eating things, you might feel like a burger. It's okay to eat a burger, but you're eating it and you might be thinking, oh, this is bad. I'm so bad.
Right.
And then you feel guilt and then you feel shame. And so it's a thing that happens. So we don't necessarily need to focus on the foods. We need to focus on how we go about it, our relationship with different foods, how we talk about foods and how we feel and think about them as well.
Yeah, that's true. The amount of times have been like, bread is not bad. Quit saying you had too many carbs this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, let's focus on getting those complex carbs. Let's focus on getting the carbs that, are good for you. But like, can we stop saying that like bread,
Carbs are bad.
carbs, blah. And yes, we've
Yeah.
like evolved over time with, actual wheat and wheat germ and what that looks like. Sure. Right. And, is maybe it's not as healthy as it, was a couple hundred years ago with, processing and all that kind of stuff. But also like, yeah, let's shift just how we think about food.
Towards nourishing. And also with this carb thing, a lot of people, it's a very typical thing to be not eating carbs, but it's really ambiguous because you cannot eat, let's say, bread and pastas and potato. People, they cut this whole food group out, which is so important.
Yeah.
And we're reducing like a whole food group. This causes stress on the body and this can have that, trigger this kind of catalyst effect. But when we are not having carbs, but then we're having bliss balls and or like high, dates and then smoothies and banana smoothies, like carbohydrates, it's just sugar. When it's broken down in the body, it's just sugar. So even though you're restricting all of these starchy carbs, if you're coming home and you're tired and you're exhausted and you need something or you need energy, carbs will usually give you that quick energy. But if you're depriving yourself of that and your body still needs it, then grabbing for all the sugary paleo desserts, it's, just choose the carb that you're going to eat. The sugary one's probably not the best idea, and have a full whole meal. Have your carbohydrates and your fats and your proteins, and don't reduce a whole entire food group.
Right.
Yeah.
We grew up on that's shifted so much over time, right? To like in the States, the food pyramid, you'd have like this at the bottom and then how that like shifted over time to have, they even place things in different areas and yet, the sugar was like the little bit amount at the top and then it was this and then they shifted the healthy oils around. Like, I just remember it like just shifting over time with the more research and the more, who knows who was chiming in on all the things.
Yeah.
Agriculture
industry and
that changes over time, but like the basics are still the basics. Like that's what's never changed. Like, let's do our best to eat whole foods.
Yeah, and your body will know that. Like, and the thing is, if
Body
you're
will know
eating
that.
salads all week, then your body's probably going to say, "Oh, I want a piece of cake." Enjoy that cake. But if you're eating cake all week, your body's also going to scream out for a salad as well. And the thing is, like, yes, you know what to do. Like everyone kind of knows what to do. It's just the how to make that easy. How can we support ourselves postpartum, nutrient wise, without going on crazy diets to get to a certain outcome, and then find that balance. Ideally nourishing is the first step, and that's what we want to focus on.
what
over it.
are the things you tell your clients? So someone comes to you, they're having a baby soon, or maybe they're in the throes of it all. What's the most important thing to focus on? What does, maybe their day-to-day look like? What are they consuming? What are you recommending to make sure that they're consuming? Like, okay, if you could focus on these few things, because make
Well,
sure you're
definitely not the scales, like definitely focusing not on the scales. We've established that. Again, it's because it's a fine line with nutrition and dieting. So I like to focus on what you can have. Focus on all the things that you can enjoy and that feel good. Of course, there's going to be some foods that perhaps are not good, trigger you, maybe some allergies. So of course, these foods we don't want to bring in. But where I really like to focus on, because some people, like a lot of mothers, are so time poor, having a whole meal together. And usually a typical thing is I cook for the kids and then I'm just left eating the scraps. Like we kind of forget about ourselves.
Yeah.
So I guess it's also, I'm a massive fan of snacks, actually, and not snacks like a pack of chips, but I see snacks as just small meals. There's also this belief that we have to have 3 meals a day, and snacks, eat when you're hungry. Your body's going to tell you when you're hungry and when you need food. And the thing that I love about pregnancy is you often have these strong cravings. And of course, there might be underlying reasons for why you need certain cravings, but your body sometimes craves something. If you're low in iron, it's going to crave something high in iron or magnesium or whatever it is. So, listen to your body in this way, definitely. But yes, I'm a massive fan for snacks, because even if you have missed a meal because of this, that, and the other, and you are hungry, never starve yourself. Please, ever, never starve yourself. Pack together like a snack. It's basically a small meal. Put everything that you'd put into a meal. I mean, while I'm doing this, I like to, when I talk to my clients, if you imagine this is your plate, we've got protein, we've got colorful vegetables, so like half your plate, you've got your grains up here and some fat. So that's like a complete meal. And a snack is like a mini version of that. And they're like the godsends from the gods. They can sustain you throughout the day. So you're not getting to the evening or the afternoon having that energy dip, or just feeling ravenous for the next meal where you feel like you just need to sit down and devour things, because you've kind of sustained yourself throughout the day on these mini meals, which aren't just, I don't know, pretzels or just something snacky. When I say snacky, something that you can quickly grab out of a packet. If you have a small, nourished, full, complete snack as a meal, then it works wonders.
Yeah. And especially if we're healing and we're breastfeeding, and it's like, and then just having it all there, just having it there, ready to go and grab, right?
Yeah.
Like, even as like, I just remember my mom being there 1 week postpartum. I was just chopped up apples with like a chunk of peanut butter on the side, but like in the fridge, ready to grab and go, so that like when you're sitting there pumping or nursing or whatever, you can also be feeding yourselves. I talked about this in another interview, sitting down with your kiddos and not just finishing off their mac and cheese or whatever, but like make yourself food. Let them see that you're important too, and that you should all sit down and eat together. Not just be serving and plating. I often talk a lot about my clients, like, you're feeding your kids the healthiest, the wholest, and you're homemaking a lot of this baby food from all organic and this and that. And then, you're throwing back, the whatever that you found in the back of the cupboard probably expired. You know what I mean? And I'm like, let's not do that. Like, be the mom also, like, preps that healthy stuff for her, or like has that stuff and then blends it up for the baby. I remember like making sure I ate healthy, because I was going to then throw that in a blender for baby food.
Yeah, for later. Yeah, exactly. Eating what the children are also eating. And also if you're breastfeeding, it's the same thing. What you're eating is, coming through and feeding. And I think, again, we need to, like, I think the main thing to remember is, because sometimes it's hard and we're busy and we're tired and it's just easy to grab things. But if you focus on the nourishing side of it, and these nutrients, when you are consuming them all like throughout the day, and it's not to say that you can't enjoy some cake, like also do that, don't deprive
100%.
yourself.
Yeah.
And then you focus on nourishing, and then along comes the elevated energy. Because if you wake up and you kind of forget to eat and you're on the go, or you're just grabbing, you know, I don't know, we have Vegemite in Australia, like Vegemite on toast or peanut butter on toast, like it will make you feel full, but it's going to give you that little bit of energy.
Yeah.
20 minutes later, you're going to crash and you're going to want something again. So invest that time in just putting something full together, which is going to sustain you over the time.
Yeah.
And having it prepped in the fridge, oh my gosh, like the amount of things that you can, I don't know, boiled eggs. You can also have potatoes, which are cooked and then cooled in the fridge, cut up vegetables, hummus, which is made depending if you're breastfeeding and, you know, the gas and stuff like that. But there's a lot of things that you can just have to kind of grab and go. Crackers are also there with, toppings, snacks. Snack is where it's at.
Snack.
Yeah. Yeah.
I keep like snacks in plenty. Well, also 3 growing kids, like always eating, but you'll eat what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Right? You'll eat what's around the house. So if we're only keeping really good stuff that our body's craving, you know, we're going to eat that stuff. You know, if my kids are super hungry and there's Doritos or whatever laying around, like, of course I care about that.
So
but
that's
if I chop up a bunch of veggies or have like a bunch of like just fruit laying around and there's no other crap, you know, not that they don't still have that stuff here and there. I just still keep Costco sized giant bags of them around, but they
readily on the table.
They don't even think about it. They're like, they will consume what's around. How do we, you know, keep those things
I mean, what
around?
I do with my kids as well, and also for myself, especially if, like, as I said before, sugar was such a big thing with my child. If you're putting the snack plate or meal together, and you might have seen that's, it's a thing that it's putting that meal together and also having, I don't know, some Smarties or Doritos, like something that doesn't make you feel like, oh, I have to finish my meal in order to get dessert. You know, this feeling, it's another thing. Like, I don't have to eat my meal. I don't need to do anything in order to get a dessert. You can just kind of also for yourself, have it with your meal. It's not a big deal, you know? So it's like also like having a good relationship with food is also highly important. And that's what I said before. I think the way that we see food, but nutrition, what we eat, massive part. How we go about it, also not massive part. Listening to our bodies is also like knowing what it wants and just honoring that as well. But then at the same time, this comes into habits, because as I said before, if you're exhausted because you're sleep deprived and you're kind of surviving on coffees and you're a little bit nervous, then like what you're eating is like down the priority list. So you do grab for whatever's there. So in this way, before, like what I like to do is like before you go to the, I don't know, the drawer where anything's kept, just pause, because this is a craving that we have. And how I like to say it is like, no amount of discipline is going to tell you not to eat whatever you want to eat. You need to address what your underlying cause is for that. And usually from childhood, you know, if we've scraped our knee and grandma said, oh, come and have some cookies, like stop crying, come and have some cookies. We learn this. And as an adult, you're not scraping your knee, you're having a child, you're being tired, you're perhaps, you know, struggling with work or relationships. We like hard things happen, yet we still default to food. So we need to, for whatever reason, that we are kind of gravitating towards certain foods that we might not want to eat a lot of, but we feel like doing it anyway. The ship is sailing towards that destination, and it doesn't matter if you're the captain, like trying to turn the wheel to get somewhere else, it's still going to get there. So what we need to do is, while we're like, before we leave the harbor, so to say, in this analogy, just stop, realize, what are we feeling? Am I sad? Am I exhausted? Am I tired? Am I just grabbing for something quick? And actually what needs to happen in this point is you need to kind of rewire these habits. Cravings will only last about 15 minutes. So if you can, just distract yourself, scroll on Instagram, call a friend, make a voicemail, play with your baby, I don't know, empty the dishwasher or do something fun, maybe, you know, do something that you like, replace that feeling, that stress, like I'm stressed, I therefore need to eat something, with something that's like a bit more like dopamine enhancing for you, fun for you. And over time, this will rewire I need to just have comfort food and binge because I'm feeling exhausted, sad, tired, or stressed, or whatever the reason is. It'll change your habit of going towards food to going towards other things that you enjoy.
Right.
So yeah, it is nutrition. It's also habits. And then I think on top of all of this, our mindset, I mean, you're in health as well. You probably know how important it is to have a clear mindset of where we want to go. And, you know, a lot of the time with this getting weight loss, feel good weight, like the goals always change. The goals are like a horizon. They always keep moving. It's like you get to the horizon and then the
Right. There's
goals,
something else.
and it's so you're never
that
gonna
journey. It's like this little by little, step by step, because they all have these, massive goals. I'm like, okay, let's make that a little more timely, a little more attainable for this 2-month period, because, within those couple months, we're able to, change our habits and, teaching them about neuroplasticity and how you can retrain your brain, and it can morph and grow. And like you were saying, like, you'll start to think differently because you are changing. Your brain is changing. And I think we don't often learn about that growing up. We don't often hear how much control we really do have with change and how to create change. And I think that's where I think support comes in, right? We can't always do it on our own. So we have, groups and support and people like you to help. Let's take you on this journey and let's support you through it, because you don't have to do it alone.
No, I think accountability is one large part of it. But sometimes I think as mums, you do feel alone. Like, the reality is, I think for most of us, my experience included, you kind of start this and you're like, oh, like if you don't have that village of, I mean, it's great that you're facilitating something like this, but if you don't have that immediate, like sisters, cousins, aunts around you, then you're kind of like, what am I doing in all of this? Yeah. So it's really hard. And I think there's a lot of unrealistic expectations out there, what we see, how you see celebrities bounce back, what we were talking about before, and oh God, Instagram, like what it does as well. And I think to really just see, like, don't compare ever yourself to anyone else except for yourself, and perhaps how you did yesterday, like compare yourself with your past self. You've created a human which you didn't have before. Massive achievement. Yeah, like, and the thing is, like, through postpartum as well, we get through it. Everyone's going to get through it. There are, of course, tough times and there are amazing times as well. But don't compare to anyone external. Don't even compare yourself to your own external goals moving forward. Just compare yourself to, am I doing better than yesterday? Did I survive today? Am I doing better? I'm doing it. Okay, I'm doing it. And then every day it's like,
I lived. The baby lived. Let's do it all over again.
And you're doing it. Exactly. And I also, that's why I love, like, this. I love the name of your summit. Like, you've got this. You do actually, and with the support,
you got it. Like, you're doing it, and you got it. Like, I don't know. Like, I want to say, like, you were made for this, but like some people feel like, I don't know, I'm not a good mom. I don't really feel like I know what I'm doing, or I'm not connecting, or whatever. It's like, it's in there. Like, and sometimes maybe you have to dig a little deeper. I remember, like, I bought this, it's Best Mom Ever mug, and I bought it for myself. Getting to that point where you're like, I am the best mom ever for my kids, for me, compared to me. You know what I mean? Not like compared to, Jill down the street that supposedly looks as though she has it all together, but later to learn, like, massive struggles. You know what I mean? Like, that.
I think everyone has struggles as well.
Yeah. Buy yourself the Best Mom Ever mug, and then, believe it in all the mess. Right.
Yeah. And just, exactly. Yeah. I love that. I know, I'm just thinking about, like, this, the best mom ever. I was talking with my partner before. I was coming to meet you, had to, like, plan dinner, doing this. I had, like, worked all day, and I'm thinking to myself, like, why do I need to pass this over to you? You're a parent. You should know how to do it. And he actually just looked at me. He's like, well, he didn't say you're the best mom ever, but he, like, something between the lines. And I was like, thank you. Like, thank you for acknowledging that, because it's a tough journey. And I think coming back to, you know, my topic, which is, I guess, you know, feeling at your feel good weight, like there's no point in making yourself feel shamed or guilt into how you look or feel postpartum or during pregnancy. Like, you're creating a human, and everyone knows that there's a massive changes that's happening, but we need to just check in with yourself and how you're feeling. And of course, it's not always going to be roses, but by restricting yourself, by falling back on old habits, which perhaps made you feel a certain way in the past, it's nothing that's going to support you long-term, sustainable in you feeling well and healthy as a mum. So if I can leave anything in part with this, it's just to focus on yourself, what makes you feel good, and put your energy there. Drop back all the restrictions. We know restrictions don't work, and feed yourself, nourish yourself with the things that you know that make you feel good.
Yeah, I love that. How do people get in touch if they're like, yes, I
want to feel good.
I want to work with you. I want to get your stuff. I want to have access to you. She's an online nutritionist. So even all the way from Germany, you do. So what's, how do we best get a hold of you? Of course, we'll include all this information in all the things.
I think, to be honest, my website, alanabonnemann.com. I have a podcast as well, the Health After 30, which is a nice place actually to start. Health After 30. It's, maybe I should even say health after motherhood, because it's kind of, you know, when I had children at 30, everything changed, but things change at 30. We're not 16 anymore. We don't want to be 16 anymore, but our bodies are changing. And so it's embracing it. And it does take in this nutrition habit mindset. It's that approach of holistic health. So yeah, you can check out the Health After 30 podcast. I'm not Instagram. I do have, but alanabonnemann.com is where you'll find free resources and also be able to get in contact with me.
Love it. Yeah. Thank you so much. You're great. Alana, I wish you could live on the other side of the world.
So far away.
Because I want to hang out.
No, and I want to say thanks to you too. Like, thank you for this opportunity, and also what you're creating for so many people. I didn't have this when I came into motherhood, and I fumbled around motherhood. And I think it's just so important. And it's what we need more of. So I'm so happy to be a part of this. And yeah, thanks to you too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, that means a lot. We got you. Alana's got you. Thank you so much
Mama.
for joining us. We got you, Mama. Feed yourself all the good things. And don't place labels on good and bad and this and that. Like, you know what you need. And often our bodies will yell at us and tell us. And so it's, you know, about listening to that and really, again, focusing on you. I think so much about the summit is like, let's bring it back to the mom. Let's bring it back to you. Like, you need, you know, because you are the one that is caring for the, you know, so let's really zone and focus, you know.
Yeah. And I just, as a last parting thing, the breaking from diets, as you said, like the not labeling foods, the listening to your body. I have a 5-day challenge for this. So it walks you through. It kind of walks you through how to, like, well, it challenges yourself. Not that moms need more challenges, do they?
I know.
But it's like, I mean, it's not, I mean, I say a challenge, but it's just because it's like 5 days where you can kind of short, bite-sized content where you can kind of put things to the test, you know, start to listen to your body. Am I hungry or do I have appetite? Like, just, is this good? Is this bad? So like, just to try and give it a feel. And I think that's one of the first places. Yeah. One of the best places to start as well. Cool. Trying and feeling it and giving it a go.
Yeah. Listening to ourselves, trying different things. I keep saying, drinking all the water. We're so dehydrated. Let's drink all the water as well.
Sounds like my mom, just get a good night's sleep and drink more water. She's like, it's a remedy for water. Yeah, a remedy for life.
Surprising, right? That comes down to that, the things we need to live: food, water, sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Roof over our head.
Right. And, you know, and then the way to do that more fully and healthily, you know, is to just listen to ourselves. Yeah. And if that's too cloudy, listen to Alana. She'll tell you what's best. She'll tell you what's best for your body. Sometimes it does get too cloudy. I had a friend that she's like, I grew up with like zero nutrients. Like, my mother like ate, you know, 3 Skittles a day to stay skinny. You know what I mean? Like, we grew up with different things. And so it's like, and you know, and then your body changes, you have kids and you're like, I don't even know where to start. Yeah. And there's people out there that can help you start, you know, and it's just about starting little by little, day by day. And again, building, one little thing on top of the other to create, that change. So thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, thanks for
Being
having
so
me.
helpful. Thanks for all the good insight, all the things. Check out her website. It will be linked in the email attached to this episode. And we'll let you get back to your, I don't know, putting kids to bed, like whatever time it is.
All of it. Exactly. Thank you
Your
so
Tuesday
much.
is done. Congratulations. You're almost halfway through the week.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Alana. I really appreciate you. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.